Welcome, Casselberry. It is now time to have a casual conversation for the beneficial good of our community. The show you are about to listen to is called What's Up, Casselberry? And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you your hosts, Andy and Drew, along with producer Robin.
Hey, what's up, Casselberry? It's Drew and Andy. We're back with another exciting episode of the What's Up, Casselberry podcast. This is episode number 115. That's right, listeners. You got to go back and listen to all of our previous episodes. Each and every week, we have great conversations about all things Casselberry. And before Andy, my co-host, shares, listener, I got to tell you, in the show business industry, sometimes the phrase "the show must go on" applies, and this is one of those episodes. We've got a co-host feeling a little under the weather. We've got a producer, Robin, who is on the call but is on mute. And here we go. We're going to make the best of it, aren't we, Andy?
We are. The quality of the Doug jokes I read may be a little bit decreased today. Yeah, but gonna soldier through, just fighting some issues. But I'm excited to be on the pod. Looking forward to meeting our guest and always hanging out with you.
Absolutely. And it's, great time of year. Easter's right around the corner as of this recording, and just a lot to be thankful for. And, it was really fun recently being able to serve alongside you and other friends from Casselberry. We recently partnered as two churches, Willow Creek and Church Together, along with Metro Life Church, Community United Methodist Church, the City of Casselberry, Bravo Food Supermarkets, and many others, just citizens from our community, to do this neighbor to neighbor event, which we've done a couple of times. Andy, do you want to just talk about your experience serving in Casselberry this last week?
Yeah, what a great experience it was. I think altogether we had just over 100 volunteers, and you listed some of the churches and organizations. One organization you didn't mention was the Casselberry Police Department, because they sent some officers out. And one of the profound pictures for me was of the chief of police, not in his kind of dress blues uniform, but in sweats, getting sweaty, cleaning out the yard of a resident in Casselberry. And I think that speaks so much to his humility and the success and the joy of this program, right? That those who are in need are helped by those who have able bodies and resources to help. And you put those things together, and we clean up our community and we make it a better place. And it's a win, 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 and probably a couple more. It's a win for the homeowners, for the churches, for those who serve, for our organizations, for our community as a whole. It just goes on and on. And so it was really great to serve with you in that capacity. Tell us about the home that you went to.
Absolutely. So Neighbor to Neighbor is really going alongside and helping with some homes that the city has identified just in need of some TLC. And so was fortunate enough to work alongside 5 or 6 other people from our community that I actually did not know. I'd never met before, and went out to Jasmine Road. And there was a home there. It was occupied by probably a lady in maybe her 50s or so, and with one child. And it was her father-in-law's house, and her father-in-law is quite elderly and unable to kind of maintain some of the property, especially in the backyard. And so we went in there with lawnmowers and edgers. We trimmed tree limbs, took out some garbage, leaves, you name it. We did it, and we just had a blast. And the yard was totally transformed. In fact, about 2/3 of the way through the project, Andy, this was maybe two and a half hours in, I got in a conversation with the neighbor of the house we were working on. A lady came out and started asking some questions, and found out she was originally from Colombia and has been in Casselberry for a number of years. She desires to improve her English, so she was very excited to come out and speak English to me. Told her, yeah, I apologize, I can't respond in kind in Spanish, but it was a great conversation, and she was just thrilled to see us coming alongside and serving the community. So as you said, just a win across the board. And then I don't know about you, but for me, I ended the day Bravo Supermarkets, which there's a couple of locations, one on 1792. I think there's another on 436. We've had them as a guest in a previous episode. They gave us free lunch. And so I went and picked up lunch about 4 p.m. that afternoon and got just a nice big plate full of beans and rice and pork, and it was delicious. So a great day all the way around.
If you're having lunch at 4 p.m., Drew, that's kind of like an early dinner.
I think I'm on my way to being an old man with the early dinner crowd.
That's funny. What a great day. I think about 12 homes were served, an army of over 100 volunteers, and together they made our city more of a community. It was a beautiful thing to say.
That's right. Exactly. Well, transitioning now to our dad jokes of the week. Andy, you and I were together in person at the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce meeting this week as of this recording. And it's funny, we walk into a room together now and people come up to me, come up to you and start giving us jokes or telling us other jokes that maybe they've heard of, or they'll repeat a joke that we've shared. This segment is just continuing to gain steam despite desire to quash it. But here we go. Andy, it is the springtime. Can the month of February march?
Can February march? I don't know.
Well, it did march on, but no, it cannot. But April may. that was a calendar joke.
That reminds me of the old math joke, right? Wasn't there something like 7, 8, 9? Or why was
7, 8, 9? Yep.
Why was, I don't know, someone scared of someone?
All right, let me try this. Different subject altogether. I feel weird even saying this one, but here we go. Andy, cosmetic surgery used to be something that no one talked about. It used to be a very taboo subject.
Indeed.
But now it's very common to walk around. You can see signage. You can talk to anybody about Botox and nobody even raises an eyebrow.
Hey, there it is. There it is.
All right. Some Doug joke.
All right. First Doug joke. Well, it's raining once again in Casselberry.
Yes.
We had a nasty little storm blow through today, but Doug, joke number one, since it started raining, all my wife has done is look sadly through the window. If it gets any worse, I'm going to have to let her in.
Doug's got a theme with kind of ragging on wives. That's
he's
funny.
A really nice guy. He would never, ever do that. All right. Next one. Over the weekend, Doug was preparing some fish or a fish with some herbs the other day when his wife came up and started talking to him. So he told her, this isn't really the time or the place to have a conversation.
So this is a real question. Is in Britain, is it pronounced herb or herb?
I would have said, what did I say?
You said herb. That must be because you're just under the weather. I think it's herbs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Americans, I believe, would make the H silent, but I believe the H is there to be celebrated. So it's herb.
We're all about shortening things here in America. Just we mumble and shorten our words. So
if Robin was here, she'd remind us of that scene in The Office that we often talk about where Kevin says, use words less.
Yeah. Why use many words when few words do trick?
Yeah, that's right. It's the American version. That is why use H in herbs when 3 letters do the trick.
Yeah, I like it. Well, you did mention it's raining outside. For our Casselberry in the news segment, we like to touch on different things going on in our city. We're hopeful that the weather will be good as of this recording and the week of Easter, because April 15th, Friday, there is a golf tournament highlighting and honoring Friends of the Park. That's right, Friends of the Park. We're going to have a conversation next episode with the Friends of the Park president, Colleen Hufford. They do much good work in the city. In fact, Andy, not too long ago, I walked around and there was a little doggy trash can, right, to put the dog poop in.
Yeah.
And on it, there was stickers that said donated by Friends of the Park. So this golf tournament on April 15th is all about helping Friends of the Park do good work and providing just natural beauty and care for our city of Casselberry. This golf tournament is being put on by Colleen and the Friends of the Park. They're asking for help with silent auction or raffle items. You can volunteer at the event. You can be a whole sponsor. And of course, you can play golf. The golf tournament's going to be at the Casselberry Golf Course. And I am not playing in this, and I don't think you are either. This is an important day. We'll be kind of tied up that Friday before Easter, but expecting a good crowd, expecting lots of energy and fun. I think Colleen mentioned that it's like 3 B's. It's what, birdies, something, and brews. Because I know there's going to be wine.
I knew the brews stuck out to me as well.
So we're going to put this word out there. If you would like information about the golf tournament, please email Colleen Hufford, and her email is Colleen SHufford@gmail.com. Colleen S. Hufford@gmail.com. That's going to be a great tournament. Andy, have you participated in Friends of the Park events in the past?
I've been part of the Earth Fest event, and I've supported some of the other things over the years. Great organization, doing some great work. Drew, I think we would be remiss, just as we're talking about events this weekend, if we didn't wish our listeners a happy Easter. I realize there are folks of different faiths and no faiths who listen to us, but both Drew and I are pastors, and we'll be celebrating this weekend the Easter story and the Easter resurrection. And friends, if you have a church home, we'd encourage you to go to it. It's a big weekend in our world.
Absolutely. Well said. And as I look outside and it's kind of a rainy day, it's a good reminder of our faith where there's a dark moment, but there is light and new hope and new beginnings just around the bend. Very good. We're going to take a short podcast break and be back with our guest. I want to tell you about our friends at Full Circle Real Estate and Management. Lynn Brecken is a dear friend of Andy and I's, and Lynn has been involved in the Casselberry community for many years. Lynn serves on the board as the treasurer for the Chamber of Commerce here in Casselberry. And professionally, her and her team at Full Circle Real Estate and Management work with buyers, sellers, and investors. They offer a full range of management services. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or have them perhaps help you manage the sale or purchase of a home, please reach out to Lynn and her team. Their website is myfullcirclerealestate.com. You can email Lynn at lynne@myfullcirclerealestate.com or give them a call at 407-921-3763. Lynn is a great person and will work to do everything she can to help you. Check them out, Full Circle Real Estate and Management.
Welcome back, listeners. We are thrilled to have a new member of our Casselberry business community with us today, Miss Duanyelle Perry. She recently started working for reverse mortgage funding. Every time the bank takes the money out of my account for my mortgage, I wish I could reverse that process, but I don't think that's what we're talking about here. Welcome to the show, Duanyelle.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Well, we like talking, so we're off to a good start already. In order to help us kind of accelerate forward, could we just do a few icebreaker questions? We always find that those are fun. And we have a couple for you as well. When you and your family go out to eat, who wins the battle of where to eat and where do you eat?
Well, if we have our 6-year-old with us, then he usually dictates. Luckily, his palate has expanded to include hamburgers now instead of just pizza. So we were able to go a lot of other places. And at one point, if the pizza did not look like a personal pan pizza, he would not eat it. He's the driver for that. Usually when my husband and I go out, he says, just pick somewhere. He's like, by the end of the day, I don't want to make another decision. But, from Wisconsin, he's got to have a meat. So Italian or some kind of meat. He's easy. So,
well, if he's from Wisconsin, is Culver's on your?
List? Culver's on our list. And I discovered Culver's when I went up there not too long ago, before the one was built here locally. And I was like, cheese curds, what is that? I mean, I knew about all the cheese, but cheese curds, and then boy, the Friday fish fries, holy cow. I didn't know what I was missing, but 5 weeks we were there, fish fry every Friday at a different place. Oh,
yum. They'll change your life.
Culver's, though. It's really good.
Andy, I'm trying to remember when we were having our conversation with the general manager from Culver's. This was many episodes ago. I think it's the cheese sauce. You mentioned cheese curds. I think it's the cheese sauce. He highlighted that if you add that to the fries or whatever, it's just even that much better. So
I'm the kind of guy who would probably have cheese sauce on my cheese curds, but that's another story.
Duanyelle, can I ask you our next icebreaker question? I'm a movie buff, or kind of a self-proclaimed movie buff.
That's the only kind of buff he is. years, though, just to clarify that.
Definitely. If we were to kind of take your life and make it, I'm just going to ignore that, Andy. If we were to take your life, make it a movie, what would the genre of the movie be? Maybe a title of your life, and what actress would you pick to play you?
I feel like maybe the dynamic is different, but right now we are in a Boss Baby movie, and I am a cartoon character. I have just learned to adapt and go with what this little 6-year-old going on, I don't know, 13 or 14. And I know that he's doing me to me when he says and puts his hands up, here's what I'm going to need from you. So I know I've said that multiple times, and he just says it back to me, and we just call him Boss Baby because he will kind of just tell us, what's going on, what we're going to do. Next, we're going to do this. We're going to play this Roblox game. I'm learning to play Roblox. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And so kind of hard for me to get into that when my games are usually, some kind of word puzzle. So I think it's Boss Baby for sure.
That makes sense. It seems that as we get older, we don't actually become the boss. We become the servants of another boss.
Yes.
It's funny. We think it's going to be an ascent, but it's actually a descent. All right. One more question. Let me see. You work a lot, your website says, with a 55 plus community, but you are obviously a lot younger than that. What is one thing that you would like to do in your retirement?
I think about retirement a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for the question. And I actually do check the box for being in a senior. So I am in that. I'm not eligible for retirement yet, but my dream is to travel for longer periods of time, like a month or so, in an RV with my dogs, and go and just pick up and move. Go to a state park and stay there a week. Go to another one. There are so many in Florida I haven't even been to. I'd love to do that. Just kind of start that bucket list and start checking off all of the Florida ones. So it's really the debate on the size of the RV right now, because the state parks have a limit, but then we've got a golden and another dog and 2 adults and possibly a kid. So so that's really the debate right now. But RV living is kind of my retirement dream.
My daughter is intrigued by that too. You could go to a different fish fry every Friday night. That's great.
That sounds like a blast. Well, it was interesting to note there you shoehorned your son in at the end, but you're kind of implying I'm ready to go off and be with my dogs.
Yeah. I mean, he does make things more exciting. And he's my great nephew. We co-parent with his family. So I don't have him 100%, but we have him half the time. So it's enough to, we thought we were heading into retirement, and then we get a little 6-year-old dropped in there.
Yeah.
Well, at that, 1-year-old dropped in, and it kind of changes things, but we've introduced him to RVing. He likes it. So that's a good thing.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that part of your story with us. Duanyelle, tell us just a little bit about some of the things that you enjoy here locally. You're not able to get out on the open road yet, but tell me about what you like about Casselberry and Seminole County.
I think one of the best things is how many parks we have. There are just so many opportunities to go to a different park and a different weekend, every different weekend. And I try to, model that behavior for my nephew. Let's get out. Let's be outside, away from that video game, and do something in the park. It's fishing, it's kayaking. I really love Secret Lake Park. I don't know if you've been there, but it's got everything. You can hike, bike, kayak. I think they've got tennis courts on the other side. Great playground, picnic tables, just awesome. That is my number one favorite thing about Seminole County and Casselberry. I think that the improved and the number of bike trails we're getting now, the 10-foot trails where you're going behind the scenes, there's no traffic. I love that. That's really what I like to do and get out and do on the weekends or any other time we can.
A lot of natural beauty around here. You used to live in Denver as well, and there's a different kind of natural beauty out there in Colorado. Talk to us about some of the differences between the natural beauty of Colorado and the natural beauty of Seminole County.
The number one obvious thing. So I grew up here, actually in the home I'm living in now. And then in the mid-90s, I moved to Denver for a job opportunity. And the number one thing is the humidity. or the lack of humidity, right? It's a dry heat. What was fascinating to me is I would be out there in a long sleeve shirt, which I hardly ever wear in Florida, and it would be 90 something degrees and you're not sweating. It was unbelievable, right? The first year we only had one vehicle. And so when I went to buy, the other difference is I went to buy an SUV because now we got into hiking and climbing. They asked me if I wanted air conditioning in the car or not. And I was like, what? There's an option? That's crazy. Why would you not have? It's an option. Same thing in homes. It was a big deal. Like, well, do you want a home with when we started looking for a house, do you want a home with an air conditioning? Really? It dumbfounded me. And then I learned about a swamp cooler. It kind of just draws in the cool air from outside. And honestly, there were very few years we ran our air conditioning. The reason we run it is just to keep it running, but we wouldn't need it. We would just run it to keep, everything working. But once it got to be about 100, that's about the time to run the air conditioning. And I think the other big thing is how quickly the weather turns. Jeff Foxworthy said, you might be a Coloradan if you run your heater and your air conditioning the same day. That's true. It would be snowing in the morning. You've got a coat.
Wow.
Umbrellas on, you're walking in 3 inches of snow, and at lunch it's melted off. You short sleeves. By the time you get home, you're in shorts and, a t-shirt. So pretty amazing.
That would be challenging to get used to, but that sounds beautiful.
I don't remember ever seeing a cockroach. It just, mosquitoes, yes, but it was amazing. The bugs, just that, it was crazy. Anyway.
That's quite a selling point too. Thinking about the AC optional in cars in Colorado, the reverse of that is heated seats optional in Florida, right?
Yes, heated seats. Yes, for sure.
Duanyelle, we met you at the Chamber of Commerce here in Casselberry just a few weeks ago. And in our introductions, our conversations, you mentioned being with Reverse Funding Mortgage. What is a reverse funding mortgage? Andy was joking off the air or at the beginning of an episode actually about wishing that our mortgage would just snap your fingers and go down. I agree. Could you tell us what do you mean by that term?
So the company I work for is Reverse Mortgage Funding, and a reverse mortgage is also known as a home equity conversion mortgage. That's the official title, or a HECM, HECM. People use that acronym a lot. That is what a reverse does. It takes away the mortgage payment, Andy. So it uses the equity in your home. So you take a loan out against the equity of your home. You pay off any existing mortgage that you have, and you live mortgage free for as long as you're in your home, which is your primary residence, and you pay your loan obligations, which are property taxes, homeowners insurance, and HOA if you have it. But that's it. So going into retirement, it's giving folks like this financial freedom of no mortgage payment.
And I suppose right now there's a lot of people who've got a lot of equity in their homes, right? Because the prices are so high. So that would make sense why this whole idea of reverse mortgage funding is really kind of coming back into our national consciousness a little bit.
Right. We had one of our largest months in March since 2017. And the home values are just incredible, just some of the values that we're seeing. And property owners are just amazed. I only paid, they've lived in the home 35 years and, I only paid this much. And now they're looking at home values in the high 300s or 400s. That is the number one benefit of a reverse mortgage is that's why people get it, no mortgage payment, right? Yeah. So they're able to just have that extra breathing room.
Just to try and understand this a little bit, we're going off script a little bit. How do you liquidate that equity to pay off the mortgage? Am I understanding it right?
Yes. So you're going to take out a reverse mortgage and it's going to pay off your existing lien, your first mortgage, maybe second, depending on the equity that you have, right? So the mortgages are extinguished. And now you have used the remaining equity and you're taking a loan against that equity in your home. So say you had $200,000 of equity. You're taking that equity, not all of it, but almost all of it, that equity to pay off your loans. And it's called a reverse because it's reverse amortizing. So when currently we are making mortgage payments, our loan is going down, right? The reverse is the other way. It is going up. So whatever the amount that you take out of that equity in a loan, that amount is going, it just increases up to the maximum amount that you're eligible to take, called the principal limit.
Interesting. That's a really unique concept. And I'm assuming this has been around for a while.
Somewhere online, it said 1961 was the first reverse mortgage, but in 89 is when Ronald Reagan signed the program into law. So it's been around since 89. It's really had a lot of changes over time, too. A big one being the Wall Street reform. So a lot of changes about, who can originate loans, who can be a lender, what it is to be me, a loan originator. I'm licensed. I have strict guidelines by the state and national. So there's a lot of good things that are happening to the reverse mortgage, because there still is a little bit of that stigma about reverse mortgages, just foreclosing on everybody's homes.
Well, and I can see that because in the '08 economic crash, right? If home values are decreasing, a reverse mortgage can put people in a precarious place.
So if you have a reverse mortgage, you're only, if you have a HECM specifically, you only have to worry about your property taxes, homeowners insurance, and HOA. As long as you're paying those, there's no mortgage payment, nothing happens, and it's a non-recourse loan. So when something happens, right, and the loan is due, the end of somebody's life and the loan is due, if the heirs, the family members, don't want the home, they can just sign a deed in lieu of and walk away. It doesn't matter if the home at that time is valued at $300 and the loan is valued at $500. It's non-recourse. No one's coming after them. That is a benefit. However, if they want to buy the home, they can buy the home, pay off the loan, and any equity is left to the heirs. The lender does not take any equity. All we want is whatever the loan value is.
Sure.
That's it. Now, same thing that could happen now. If these astronomical loan or home values, right, and then in 20 years, things changed a little bit. Same thing, non-recourse. No one's going to come after you. So a lot of guarantees in there, but backed by the FHA, the government.
Yeah, I mean, it really seems like some parameters have been put around this to really kind of legitimize it as a helpful option to free up people's financial future. Talking about that, why is this specifically helpful to someone who's in their kind of mid-50s, something like that?
There are proprietary products that are available for folks 55 and up, but in general, the HECM, which is backed by the government, you must be 62 or older. And the reason for that mortgage or that program is to allow people to age in place, so free up the equity in their home. They've been, they might have no mortgage at all, right? And having access to essentially an illiquid asset, right? It's very hard to liquidate the home without not having the home, right? So that's one way to tap into it for them to age in place. And that was the purpose of the HECM in the beginning, is to allow folks entering retirement or retired to have that extra financial flexibility.
Duanyelle, let's play a fun little game to kind of focus specifically on what you and your company do.
Okay.
Andy we'll just pretend he's almost 55, so we'll just go ahead and round him up.
I am actually, yeah, sure. Feels like that. Feels like that some evenings.
How would you go about just an interaction, kind of explaining in layman's terms what services you provide? How would you walk alongside him and provide good customer service?
I think the first thing when folks reach out and have an interest in the reverse mortgage, I like to understand what they know, what they've heard about the reverse mortgage. So I like to get their understanding and really listen to that, find out what they know about it. And then second, maybe they've heard a little bit about their neighbors, took their entire family on an Alaskan cruise and they used the reverse mortgage to pay for it. How did they do that, right? So looking at what are the benefits that they would like to get out of a reverse mortgage, asking them, what would you do if you had no mortgage payment? So really getting them to think about what could their retirement look like? So really kind of doing a bit of discovery on what would your retirement look like, how would it benefit you to not have a mortgage payment? If you then start looking at maybe what kind of equity they have in their home and give them a scenario of that. So if there's no mortgage on your home, start talking about what they might be eligible for. So if you have a $300,000 home, you might be eligible for $250,000, $280,000. What would you do with that money? How could that help you so that I could better understand, again, some needs and goals for them in retirement? Some folks just want a line of credit available to them so that if there's a big emergency, they have immediate access to funds, right? They don't have to now go to the financial advisor, try to figure out what to sell, to now have to buy a new car or pay for hospital bills or something else, right? So that's one way we look at that.
I love that because, so often in the finance industry, it's like, hey, you need to do this and everything will be okay. But it really sounds like you're taking time to care for the person, to learn about them, who they are, what they want, what their financial goals are. And then you have a track to help them accomplish that as well. And I think that kind of holistic care is certainly the way to go, and a credit to you and your business. Duanyelle, we are wrapping up. Time just seems to fly. I would encourage our listeners to maybe listen to this twice, because we got talking pretty technical with some pretty interesting, math and things like that. If people wanted, even after listening to it twice, to get in touch with you to find out more how this can benefit them and their financial future, what's the best way that people can get in touch with you and learn more about reverse mortgage funding?
Sure. I'll make sure and send you the link so you can add it to the podcast, because the spelling of my name is quite unique. But if you were to type in my name, Duanyelle, Duanyelle, Perry, Perry, then I will come up as reverse mortgage funding and probably LinkedIn. I do have a website as well. So it's local.reversefunding.com / my name, spelling again. But I'll make sure and give you the link. It'll be easier. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well. I'm in the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce business listing. I'm there too. And you can get to my website through that website as well.
That's right. So listeners, that's another reason to check out our social, and we'll link to Duanyelle's social and information there as well. Duanyelle, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fascinating. I've learned a lot. I hope our listeners have as well. And we're so glad that you're part of our Casselberry community.
Well, listener, hope you enjoyed Duanyelle Perry, and very thankful for her and her involvement in our local community, helping people with their mortgages, specifically reverse mortgages. Duanyelle, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast. Andy, would you close out another episode of our podcast with some inspiration?
Thanks, Drew. Today's inspiration comes from George Bernard Shaw, or as we would say in England, George Bernard Shaw. Either way, he says these words of wisdom for us. Some see things as they are and say, why? But I dream things that never were and say, why not? And what he's talking about here is perspective and about attitude. Are we leaning into a can-do opportunity as we become a can-do person? Or are we looking to retreat or stay as we are and become too comfortable? There is a bright future ahead for us. But in order to grasp it, George Bernard Shaw reminds us to ask the question, why not?
Very good. Thank you, Andy. And thank you, listener. We hope you have had some joy in your life from our podcast. We hope that you check us out on our social media and our website. Just search What's Up Casselberry. A huge shout out and thank you to our Beyonce, the beautiful, talented producer, Robin Koeppe, for producing our episode, making us sound better than we actually are. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Shoot this over to a friend. Invite somebody to like and subscribe. And until next week, we hope you have a great week.